A 120-pound Cane Corso, black coat, scarred ear, a stare that made the mailman park 3 houses down. Before the baby came home, 4 different people told Megan the same thing: rehome the dog or risk your son's life. She didn't listen. What that dog did in the nursery 6 weeks later wasn't on any training plan. A pediatric nurse saw it happen with her own eyes and made a phone call that changed everything. This is that story. Before Gather, there had been another Cane Corso in the house, a dog Megan and Connor had raised from before they were even married. He'd had a gift for children, the rare kind of Corso who went soft and careful the second a small voice entered the room. And he'd been gone 2 years by the time Gunnar came along, old age finally catching up with a heart that had spent over a decade looking out for everyone around him. Megan still kept one of his old collars in the kitchen drawer. She didn't go looking for a dog that could replace him. She wasn't sure that was possible. She just knew when the breeder mentioned a litter that she wanted the breed again, the temperament again, whatever it was that made a dog that size choose to be gentle. Gunnar came into the house before anything else did, before the crib, before the paint on the nursery walls, before Megan and Connor even knew they wanted a baby. He was 8 weeks old, a fistful of black fur with paws too big for his body, and the breeder warned them straight out: Cane Corsos aren't a casual dog. They bond hard, they bond deep, and they bond to very few people. Connor laughed it off. Megan just reached into the crate and let the puppy chew on her sleeve. That was the whole decision. No research, no hesitation, just a small animal already deciding she was his. By the time Gunnar was 2, he was 120 pounds of solid black muscle, a head like a cinder block, and a scar over his left ear from a fence mishap as a pup. Strangers crossed the street, the mailman left packages by the curb instead of the porch. Connor's own mother refused to sit on the floor when Gunnar was in the room, even though the dog had never so much as growled at a guest. People saw the breed before they saw the animal. Megan stopped explaining. She'd lived with him long enough to know what he actually was: quiet, watchful, and strangely careful with anything smaller than himself. Then Megan got pregnant, and the warning started before she'd even told most of the family. Her sister said it first, gently, like she was breaking bad news: "You're going to have to get rid of him." Connor's mother said it next, less gently. "Cane Corsos killed children," she said, like it was settled science. A neighbor she barely spoke to stopped her in the driveway to mention a news story about a different breed entirely, as if that proved something. Even the vet kindly suggested a trial separation plan, just in case. 4 people, 4 separate conversations, the same instruction every time: the dog goes before the baby comes. Megan and Connor talked about it more than they talked about names, not because they were swayed, but because everyone kept bringing it up, and the repetition wears on you even when you know better. They didn't rehome him. Instead, they spent the last 4 months of the pregnancy doing something close to obsessive. A trainer came twice a week. They played recordings of a crying infant through a speaker in the living room, low at first, louder over time, until Gunnar stopped lifting his head at the sound. They rubbed baby lotion on their hands during every training session, so the scent would mean nothing new by the time it mattered. Connor's mother called it excessive. Megan called it preparation. The first weeks were careful by design. A baby gate stayed across the nursery door. Gunnar was never alone in a room with Wesley, not because Megan distrusted him exactly, but because that's what every piece of advice says to do, and she wasn't about to be the exception that proved anyone right. What she noticed instead was the pattern. Wherever Wesley went, Gunnar followed, at a distance, never crowding, just present. Basser in the kitchen, Gunnar by the doorway. Playmat in the living room, Gunnar at the edge of the rug, lying down but facing the baby, ears already turned before Wesley made a sound. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you something before we keep going. How many of you have had someone tell you a dog you loved was somehow wrong for your family, wrong for your kids, wrong simply because of what breed they happen to be? I'd genuinely like to know, because Megan wasn't the first person to hear it, and she won't be the last. Every single comment section under a story like this one fills up the same way. Half the people sharing their own version of the exact same warning, the exact same family member who said get rid of the dog, and the other half just watching, trying to decide who to believe. This channel exists because of stories like Gunner's. The ones where the dog everyone judged from the outside turns out to be exactly what a family needed, sometimes in ways nobody could have predicted. If a story like this means something to you, the subscribe button costs nothing, and it means we get to keep finding these dogs and telling these family stories properly without rushing past the parts that actually matter. So if you're still here, hit it now, because what happens in the next part of this story is the reason I wanted to tell it in the first place. By 4 months, Wesley had started reaching for things, and one of the things he reached for, constantly, without fear, was Gunner's face. He'd grab a fistful of jowl with his whole fist, and Gunner would simply close his eyes and let it happen, the way you'd let a small storm pass over you. Megan has a photo from that exact moment saved on her phone. Wesley's hand buried in black fur, Gunner's expression somewhere between patience and devotion. She posted it once. The comments split in half, the way they always do with this breed. People who knew, and people who were sure they knew better. The neighbor who'd brought up the unrelated news story stopped by that same month, ostensibly to drop off a casserole for the new parents, actually to see for herself. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching Wesley lie flat on Gunner's ribcage, rising and falling with each breath, both of them asleep in a patch of afternoon sun on the living room floor. She didn't say anything about the dog after that. She asked instead what kind of casserole dish she should buy Megan as a thank you for letting her see it. Megan never brought up the warning again either. There didn't seem to be a need. There was a night around month 5 that Megan still talks about more than any other. Wesley had a fever, nothing dangerous, just the ordinary misery of teething and a cold landing at the same time, and he wouldn't settle. Megan walked him for an hour. Connor tried the car seat trick, driving him around the block at midnight. Nothing worked, until Megan, exhausted, sat down on the nursery floor with Wesley against her chest, and Gunner walked in without being invited, lay down pressed against her side, and let out one long breath. Wesley's crying slowed within minutes. Whether it was the warmth, the weight, or just the sound of that breathing, Megan couldn't say. She only knew that the dog had read the room before she had words for what the room needed. The call from the hospital came almost by accident. Megan's cousin worked as a pediatric nurse and had stopped by one Sunday to meet Wesley properly. She watched Gunner for nearly 20 minutes without saying much, the way people who work with anxious children learn to observe before they speak. Then she asked Megan a question nobody had asked before. Has anyone ever talked to you about therapy dog certification? Megan laughed, assuming it was a joke about the size of him. It wasn't. Her cousin explained that the children's hospital where she worked had a long waiting list for therapy animals, and that what she just watched, the stillness, the way Gunner tracked Wesley's mood instead of his movement, was exactly the temperament they screened for and almost never found. Most dogs that size came with too much energy or too little patience. Gunner had spent 2 years training, without anyone calling it training, to be exactly still enough for a child. The evaluation happened 6 weeks later at a quiet training facility outside the city. A certified evaluator put Gunner through scenarios designed to break a dog's composure. Sudden loud noises, a child running directly at him, screaming, a wheelchair rolling close enough to brush his paw, a stranger reaching for his ears without warning. Gunner failed none of it. The evaluator, a woman who had tested hundreds of dogs over a decade, told Megan afterward that she rarely saw a dog this size hold this much stillness without a flicker of correction. He's not suppressing anything, she said. He's just built like this. There was one moment during that evaluation Megan still describes carefully. Partway through the session, a second evaluator dropped a metal tray on purpose, a hard, sudden crash meant to test a dog's startle response in a hospital corridor. Every dog in the building flinched. Gunner's ears moved, just slightly, toward the sound and then back toward Wesley's stroller at the edge of the room. He checked on the baby before he reacted to the noise at all. The evaluator wrote something down and underlined it twice. Protective instinct overrides startle response. Recommend immediate placement on waiting list. Gunner started his hospital training program 8 weeks after that. The same dog 4 separate people had told Megan to give away now spends 2 mornings awake in a children's ward, lying beside beds where small, frightened kids reach for something warm and solid and unafraid of them. The same breed people see and cross the street over is, in that hallway, the thing a sick child asks for by name before a procedure. Megan still gets the looks when she walks him into the building the first time each rotation. She stopped needing anyone to understand it before they see it for themselves. Wesley is 14 months old now. He still grabs fistfuls of black fur every morning before breakfast, and Gunnar still closes his eyes and lets him. The nursery gate came down months ago. Nobody talks about rehoming anymore. Not Connor's mother, not the sister who said it first, not the neighbor who never apologized but stopped bringing it up. They just watch a 120-pound Cane Corso lie still while a toddler stands on his back like a low, breathing trampoline, and they don't say anything at all. Some dogs need a job to feel whole. Gunnar just needed someone to see what he already was. He didn't change when Wesley came home. Everyone else did. Was it instinct, or did he simply know exactly who needed him most?